have to a drink before we get started. There's nothing worse than hearing the water pour out while someone else is talking. Welcome to the panel section, everybody. This is hopefully going to be a very open conversation. But before we open up for wider questions, I'd like to start with some introductions and our initial views on our topic area, which is how do we future-proof services for all UK citizens to sustain a smarter state? Theo?
Yes, I'll just turn to some slides, if that's okay. So I've kind of approached this issue as Chief Digital Officer for London as thinking about how we fix the plumbing in order to meet some of the big challenges our city faces. And the key challenge facing London at the moment, as all cities, is climate change. So for me, it's always been the issue of legacy and future-proofing has been a civic issue, not just a technology issue, in that we need to know the foundations, the technology foundations behind what drives public services, how we share and link up data, in order for us to create new products and services that are helpful to citizens and promote growth for our city. So if this is an issue that is just boxed in the technology corner and the technology isn't owned by politicians, then we've failed. And I've started off here with a short smart history of London from 2002 to 22 to illustrate kind of our movement as a city from real strengths, mainly from Transport for London, which has been a real driver of innovation for our city, recognised across the world as a sort of global innovator, from London-wide plays to ones that emphasise collaboration. So going back to 2002, I think before the term smart city was invented, we have the congestion charge, which of course is a platform which uses a national database, camera network, payment mechanism in order to reduce congestion in our city. We have citywide open data platforms from Transport for London again, and also the Greater London Authority. Contactless travel, which is a smart city play that certainly popularised contactless payment for the country, because it was able to be rolled out at such a scale by TfL. And then moving on, what we've done is we've invested more and more at City Hall in how we can move beyond a situation where we've just got TfL doing London-wide plays and then a kind of theatre of innovation happening across our 32 boroughs or with our universities. How do we ensure that the appropriate scale happens between authorities and relationships with the private sector, so that when we've got innovation in Croydon, it is also shared in Camden? So our open call approaches have fostered that. We've set up a new collaboration institution called the London Office of Technology and Innovation, which espouses those original GDS principles of agile working, government service standard, sprints, design methodology. And that works with 24 boroughs, which is an unprecedented amount of innovation collaboration in London. And moving towards the future, we're building a new data platform so that we can link data across our city so much better, because it's held in so many different places. Fundamental to us moving beyond and future-proofing the city is improving connectivity, so moving beyond the copper legacy that London has. And here there is extremely major play by Transport for London again, and BAI Communications, a 20-year partnership that is laying hundreds of kilometres of dark fibre across the city. Gives you the benefit, if you travelled here on the Jubilee line, of having 4G uninterrupted signal as you were going through the tube. That will spread in the next 18 months across the entire network. But that full fibre spine, connected to a network of 600 public buildings funded by public money, will create these fibre hubs in neighbourhoods underserved by the market. That creates tremendous potential for growth, for industry, of private networks, and the advance of emerging technologies that will be reliant on 5G technologies. And we've also sent a very permissive planning policy, I think the most advanced in the country, to ensure that all new developments for the future city have those full fibre connections. So over the next 4 or 5 years, you will see a major transformation in the capabilities of London. Indeed, by BAI's own reckoning, we will have the most advanced transport located fibre network in the world. This fibre network, as Cole has pointed out, will create all sorts of exciting things. Obviously, the 5G and future networks that come from that, advances in the exploitation of our expertise in artificial intelligence, more sensor networks, of course we have them already, and moving towards quantum computing, which already we see the R&D being located in London on. And this will give rise to even more advanced digital services. We already see cameras, drones, robotics, mobility services, AR and VR, that sort of human-computer interface that Cole again was talking about, and haptics will also be much more evident in literally over the next decade. Take-up is expected to grow, as we've seen previously with 4G technologies, cost lowers, as even more users are prototyped. And I think crucially for facing the challenges that our city faces, the potential for new business models. So the idea that we can bring data together to give people not just personal incentives to do the right thing for the planet, but also neighbourhoods, households, units beyond the individual that can be collectively incentivised, is something that I think is deeply interesting and worth incentives from city government. So how do we link up that vast amount of data that will be coming? Well, firstly, we're going to build a new data platform. This isn't going to be a central data lake of all the data in London that will be harvested. It will be a register of where the important data sets are across the public sector and the private sector. We'll establish new data governance, which we're recruiting for at the moment, to do the following things. Ensure that there are proper legal and administrative arrangements across our 32 boroughs and major institutions to make this happen. This is not currently formally in place. We've just appointed, for example, a Pan-London Information Governance Officer. That did not exist in London before, hampering the sharing of data across the public sector and with universities and private sector partners. We will advance a collective approach to data ethics, so making it easy for people to negotiate some of the trickier aspects of data ethics in order to win trust. We at City Hall will connect with the data ecosystem. If you like, our previous data store was kind of like a passive open data publishing platform. We will now actively engage with universities, businesses and others certainly on a banner event once a year and events throughout the year, creating networks in that ecosystem so we can draw in the talent of London to make the most of data and almost fulfill the promise of the open data platform in 2010. Importantly, we will set common methods and ways of working so that when we create useful, helpful products and services with data, we are doing so consistently across the city. So much like people will create consistent digital services, we have a vision of creating consistent data services. We'll also design a new approach to open data for the 2020s. What are the boundaries of open data, and when can parts of the state legitimately charge for research or service asks to us? And this will help us fund, in the absence of government funding, fund improved data services that really help people on the ground. And then finally, echoing Megan's points, that we will strengthen the excellent capabilities, we'll strengthen excellent data capabilities and talent so that we can use data effectively in in city government. At the moment, we have far too many people who work in data when in fact they're performance managers, who's been about 50% of the people who work in data are performance managers who tell us how well we're doing. And what we need is people who can give us insights and help us develop new products and services and work collaboratively with domain expertise and with citizens to do helpful things. I'll just finish here. I know I've probably gone a little bit over time, but trends here in smart city thinking, I think, is that I think take-up of these new technologies, especially around climate change, will grow. I think most cities have moved beyond talking about smart to consider this basic functionality and less about showstopper tech, like, you know, when are we going to have flying taxis? It's more about how we do this plumbing and link up data. A lot of cities are interested in a federated approach to data rather than the big data lake model or data dam model. We're applying user-centered design to data services, and we're also developing our values that we can express to innovators and also buyers in the public sector around how we use data and how we talk about emerging technologies and design them with people. And to that end, and this is my final point, we've developed the Emerging Technology Charter for London, which brings together a lot of the excellent advice that resides in various government departments, and are also our own lived experience, talking to Londoners and designing things with Londoners to bring up a set of guidelines on how we should pilot and to prototype and deploy emerging technologies that I've outlined before in our city. And I think that's the crucial bit right at the end. We can do all of the fixing the plumbing, but fundamentally the value piece and how we win trust of people is how we get adoption to really get the value of that data and deliver real benefits for Londoners. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Theo.